We'll go ahead and continue with you. Thank you so much for taking time to meet with me. I am obviously very impressed by the different roles that you've served in the department in which you seek to run. Knowing your previous work, what do you see as your vision? What are your big priorities, if you are confirmed?
No, thank you, Senator. I think the big priority has to be the reduction of the backlog.
Okay.
That backlog has grown to insurmountable levels over the last 4 years. When I left as the Deputy Director of Policy in January of 2021, there were about 450,000 affirmative asylum cases pending around the country. That number has grown. There's over 1.5 million now. Now, what does that mean? That means that all these extra people have gotten into the pipeline, and that's only for asylum. Mm-hmm. We also have green card backlogs and other, as the senator alluded to, other employment-based green cards that we need to look at too. However, the real problem that I see is I don't know who's in the backlog. For me, backlogs are more than just a bipartisan talking point about how we got to get the agency in order. I think it's of course important to get someone's benefits to them as quickly as possible so that they have the certainty, and if they're able to begin a life in the United States and assimilate, that's fantastic. If not, they need to know that certainty and to move forward. However, the real problem with the backlog is that we don't know who's in the backlog because of the lack of screening.
How do you propose we find that out?
Well, again, utilizing existing and emerging technologies, more reassignment of individuals, moving the Fraud Detection and National Security Division within USCIS out of the shadows to actually do its job, because at the end of the day, the backlog presents a national security and public safety
risk.
Let's
adjudicate and let's get these things moving. On that, look, over the last 4 years, I believe I have seen, which was just a terrible misuse of the presidential parole authority. When I am looking at what the Biden administration did, giving blanket parole, things like the CHNV program, where it is intended to give on a case-by-case basis, and looking at the actual ramifications of that, it gives me real concern. My question to you is, what do you plan on putting in place, or how do you plan on, addressing this, and how do you plan on approaching it if and when confirmed?
Thank you, Senator. If confirmed, we will take what steps are necessary at USCIS to assist with the other departmental partners in terminating parole programs, terminating parole, reviewing on a case-by-case the people who got parole, to look for the fraud in the sponsor petitions that we know now exist. There's a lot that needs to be done, but I find it interesting. We've been talking about following the law. This is something, the law on parole is very, very clear in my opinion. And the parole program, the use of categorical parole programs is illegal. And we've got to get back to that. Parole is fine on a case-by-case basis. It's been in the law since the 60s or the 50s. But the legislative intent for it was always severe need, humanitarian needs, or significant public interest. And that was a one-off, not necessarily supposed to be mass programs used to obfuscate the numbers at the border.
Do you think this is something where Congress likely may need to act on this issue?
Senator, there have been bills previously introduced that I think would certainly handle this on parole reform, and I would love to see another.
Absolutely. Thank you. I have just in my remaining minute, my question is for Mr. Woodward. As serving as Associate Attorney General, you will have direct oversight over the Civil Rights Division. This is something that I think is critically important. We want to make sure that everyone has the right to vote, and they also have the security and peace of mind of knowing that their vote counts. When you're looking at that, one of the reasons I actually introduced the Citizen Ballot Protection Act last Congress, and I'll reintroduce it this year, and I have a number of colleagues that have different pieces of legislation that address the same thing, is amending federal law to explicitly allow states to put in place a proof of citizenship requirement, both on federal mail-in voter registration forms and state mail voter registration forms that might be developed. I think that's a common sense way to ensure integrity of the vote, that Americans American citizens are the ones voting in these elections. And my question for you is, if confirmed, what plans do you have to ensure that DOJ and the Civil Rights Division will work to enhance the integrity and security of our elections and make sure that the voters, the American citizens, aren't deluded?
Well, Senator, thank you for the question. I couldn't agree more. It is of critical importance to ensure that our nation's civil rights laws are enforced. If confirmed, I look forward to working with AAG Dillon and ensuring that voting rights are as respected as every other right. And so I'm confident that we will find a way to accomplish this, but also welcome additional legislation. Of course, the office does not itself promote policy. It enforces the law. And so if your legislation is passed, we would pursue that as aggressively as possible.
Thank you very much. Look forward to working with you both.
On behalf of the chair, Senator Welch.
Thank you very much,